Hello, this is Maggie, and I'm going to be talking about understanding and visualizing something with pianos and inharmonicity. And it's a beautiful day. I am outside. You might hear birds sing and bees buzz, and I don't care, except the wind might blow, and I'm using paper, so we'll see if this is successful. The wind is going to blow my paper away. So, what I've done is I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Those are representing my first 8 partials in a piano. And then underneath that I have the numbers for scale degrees. 1, 1, 5, 1, 3, 5, flat 7, 1. And if I line them up this way, I have a perfect little unison there. And if I want to tune an octave, this is all theoretical, and this definitely is not a piano. Because, look here, I'm lining up my 2-to-1 octave and my 4-to-2 octave and my 8-4 octave and my 6-3 octave all line up. That's not real. That's not going to happen. So that piece of paper can go away. I'm going to show you what it's like on a piano. This is inharmonicity. Inharmonicity has to do with the stiffness of the strings. Why it happens, how it happens, is in another video. But all you have to know for right now is that partials on piano strings can go sharp, and they don't always go sharp the same amount. They can, sometimes they go a lot more sharp, sometimes they only go a little bit more sharp. The more inharmonicity you have, the sharper they go, or in a sense, the more difference you have between one part of a piano and another. That I'll explain more about that in another video too. This, if you don't get anything else about inharmonicity, get this, because this, if you visualize this, you've got it. So if I were to tune an octave here with these partials, notice here I've lined up my 2-to-1. My string almost, my other piece of paper is blowing away. No, there it is. So I've lined up my 2-to-1 octave, but I can't get a 4-to-2 or 6-3 or 8-4, and there are rare times you may want an 8-4. So if I wanted a 4-to-2 octave, I'm going to go ahead and just bring this down here. Now I've lined up 4-to-2, but what's happened here? It's wide. This note and this note are now further apart. My octave is wider. This is why we stretch right here. This is it. If I wanted a 6-3 octave, and I line this up, now my 4-2 is stretched, and my 2-to-1 is even more stretched. It's even wider. And if I push that octave a lot, I have an 8-4 octave, which is ridiculously wide down here. We're probably even beating. We have at least a wah, if not a beat. And then my 4-2 is wide, my 6-3 is wide, but there's an 8-4. So we have at least a wah going on down here, some kind of noisy octave sound, which at times might be what you want. That's another video. So that is how inharmonicity works, and that is why we stretch. Now I'm going to get 2 more pieces of paper, and we're going to look at this with some letters. And what I'd like to show you is not just an octave, but a fifth. Okay, so if I have a C, and I can show you an octave with this too if you'd like, but I don't want to waste time. I think that was enough for an octave. If I'm tuning a fifth, and here's my fifth down here, I am listening to the partials at the 3-2 and the 6-4 of the fifth. All right, those are the main ones. There's higher ones, but those are the 2 I'm mostly listening to. On some pianos, if I am wide, I'm wide. If I'm narrow, I'm narrow. And there's a place where you can kind of get equal beating at the 6-4 partial, and it'll be narrow at 3-2 a little bit. So if you come down, you've got it narrow at the 3-2, and also narrow at the 6-4. And it's going to be a little more narrow here, but that's fine. We're both narrow. It's not too far out of the ballpark. So we can't line up both of them, but we can make them both narrow comfortably. There's another type of piano. Inharmonicity does not just affect octaves. That's why I'm doing this. So there's another type of inharmonicity where the partials are just a little bit different. So if in this piano, if I lined up my 6-4 to pure, my 3-2 might be sharp. So I come down, I line up 3-2, my 6-4 is flat. But on this I made a bigger difference. So if I want to make it 3-2, if I want to make it narrow at both partials, I'm making it a little bit narrow right now at my 3-2, but look what's happened to my 6-4. This is quite a large difference compared to the last two strips I had. So what if we're making our G to C fifth narrow, and we can only make it a little narrow here, but it's way too narrow here? What do we do then? We may have to bring it up and line up the third and second partials to actually be equal beating, or maybe even sharp, depending on the piano. I have one piano where I actually have to make it sharp. That's very rare, but I do have to do that on occasion. And then here, we're still narrow. We're good and narrow. So when you're tuning fifths, sometimes it's better to pay attention to the 6-4 partial, because you want your major and minor thirds to run. You also have to pay attention to this. You have to look at the whole picture. But when you're first setting up a fifth, my personal opinion is pay attention to the 6-4 partial first, then figure out where that needs to go, and then you can figure out where they need to go in the bigger scheme of things after that. So quick review with an octave. Let's see if I can pull out an octave here. Near. Where am I? Yep. So if I'm tuning an octave, and I'm getting out of my screen. There we are. I cannot line up all my partials at the same time. 2-1, 4-2, 6-3, 8-4. There's a bug. Hello, bug. What is that? Go away. Anyway, now what if this is switched? What if I have negative inharmonicity? You might hear that term. There's another word for it, and I can't remember at the moment. If I remember it, I'll stick it in the comments or in the video. Here, if I'm lining things up, if I have an 8-4 octave, I'm going to end up with a narrow down here. Now this is extremely rare, but it can happen, believe it or not. So if I have a 2-1 octave, I'm going to have a wide octave. So on this type of a piano, you're going to have very little stretch. And ideally, what you want on a piano with less inharmonicity, and here we're talking 9-foot grands, you're going to be able to get closer to this where they line up. You'll never be able to get there fully. There will always be inharmonicity. You will always have to have stretch. But depending on the piano, more or less stretch, and it's always different. So I hope this helps you understand inharmonicity and the need for stretch. Inharmonicity is not the reason we set a temperament. It is not the reason we set a temperament. We set a temperament because the natural harmonic series does not line up with itself mathematically for us to fit it into an octave. Inharmonicity is a whole nother complex set of problems on top of that. Oh boy! So if you haven't subscribed, please do. And if you have, thank you very much. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, corrections, crazy ideas of something I should be doing, send me a note at maggie@thebutlerschool.org. Happy tuning!